Sarah was my cousin. Her folks and her younger brother were killed in a highway wreck when she was just 13 years old. She was still in the 8th grade over at the county school. The family decided she'd go live with her aunt and uncle on their farm outside of town. Her parents' old farmhouse got boarded up and locked. It sat empty at the end of the dirt road. She was so torn up with grief that year, she couldn't even sit for her final exams. Little by little, though, time did its work on her. Her aunt sat with her evening after evening, talking gentle and patient, until Sarah finally agreed to go back to school. She threw herself into her studies after that. Before long, she was near the top of her class. Years rolled on. She finished up her teaching degree and landed a good job at the county schoolhouse. For the first time in a long while, some peace crept back into her life. Wake up. Get dressed. Teach her class. Come on home after the bell rang. She settled into that routine like an old pair of work boots. Once she had steady work, a few decent marriage offers came around. But Sarah's heart still carried the weight of losing her whole family in one afternoon. She turned her back on the idea of a wedding day altogether. There was no mother or father left to walk her down the aisle. Now, over in our neighborhood lived a man named Samuel. He ran his own farm and feed business, and it had grown clear out past the state line. His only son, young Sam, was about as hardworking and promising as they come. His daddy had a business worth a small fortune, but nobody ever once caught Sam wasting a minute of daylight. That boy was busy from sunup to sundown. Every morning he'd head straight to his father's office and handle the business himself, top to bottom. When old Samuel got up in years and his health started failing, he handed the whole operation over to his son. He passed on not long after from a bad heart, before he ever got to see his boy standing at the altar. With his father gone, the full weight of the business fell square on Sam's shoulders. He buried himself in work to keep from feeling much of anything else. He was a peculiar sort of man, truth be told. Never once looked twice at a girl. Every evening he'd come home and sit right at his mother's feet. She'd tell him, "Son, I'm getting old, and there's no telling how much time the good Lord's got left for me. Settle down and marry, so I can see your house full before I go." But he'd just wave it off. He told her plain he didn't want her hunting up a bride for him. "I aim to spend my whole life taking care of you," he said. His mother figured he was just being a good, devoted son, but Sam meant every word of it. He was looking, careful and slow, for a particular kind of woman. Someone who'd take his mother as her own and treat her with real respect. He knew good and well that kind of woman was harder to find than hen's teeth these days, so he kept putting off marriage altogether. One day his mother said to her sister, "Have you ever thought about that girl Sarah? She won't marry either. Losing her whole family broke something in her. Bring up a wedding and she starts crying. Why don't you ask for her hand for your boy?" The aunt went home and talked it over with Sam. She told him how young Sarah had lost everyone and grown up starved for a mother's love, and how a girl like that would surely take his own mother to her heart. Sam listened close and got real quiet, thinking it over. His mother could tell she'd hit the mark. She painted such a sorrowful picture of Sarah's hard life that Sam's eyes went misty. "All right, Mama," he said. "Let me think on it a while, and I'll let you know. When the Lord means to bring two people together, He'll always find a way to arrange it." While Sam was mulling over his mother's wishes, Sarah's uncle, who'd been ailing for some time, kept telling her, "Honey, if a good match comes along, I want to see you settled before I go. There's no telling what'll become of you once I'm not here." Then one afternoon, walking home from school, Sarah got struck by a pickup truck that was moving too fast down the county road. The driver never even slowed down. She went down hard on the gravel shoulder, her books and papers scattered everywhere. As it happened, Sam was driving by in his own truck right at that moment and saw the whole thing with his own eyes. He didn't recognize her, figuring she was just some local girl. He pulled over, ran to her and said, "You're hurt bad, ma'am. Climb on in. I'll take you wherever you need to go." Sarah really was hurt and couldn't hardly stand on her own. She gave him her uncle's address and got in the truck. He dropped her right at the front porch. Later that evening, his mother told him the girl's name was Sarah. Something about her had already struck a chord with him. He told his mother, "Well, looks like your wish is about to come true. I've seen the girl myself. and I believe she'll bring you nothing but honor and joy." The minute his mother heard he was willing, she rushed straight over to Sarah's uncle's place to ask for her hand. The uncle had been praying for exactly this kind of blessing. Sarah was pushing 40 by then, and Sam wasn't far behind her. The fall on the road had twisted her ankle so bad she'd ended up in the hospital for a spell. During that whole time, Sam and his mother came by to check on her every single day. A week later, when she was finally back home, Sam's mother came asking for her hand proper. Sarah had gotten a good long look at Sam by then, and his kindness toward her had already worked its way into her heart. When her uncle asked if she was willing, she just lowered her eyes. And that was answer enough. Everyone breathed easy, glad this hard chapter was finally settled. Nobody had a lick of worry about Sam himself. He was a steady, decent, well-mannered young man with money in the bank. Not a soul in 3 counties had ever had a bad word to say about him. The old farmhouse came alive again once Sarah moved in, and Sam was happy as could be. He'd found the kind of wife he'd always hoped for. Well-read, respectable, with a warmth that won folks over easy. His mother took to her daughter-in-law like she was her own flesh and blood. That poor woman had been aching for a daughter just as much as a daughter-in-law. She'd pinned 1,000 hopes on her son, and Sarah seemed like the answer to every one of them. She wasn't much to look at, plain as cornbread, but her character promised something a whole lot finer. Sam's mother looked after her new daughter-in-law every way she knew how. Sam himself hoped his wife would give up teaching and settle in at home, but Sarah wasn't having that. So his mother stepped in and said, "Son, you ought to respect your wife's wishes. If she wants to keep teaching, what's the harm in it?" Sam said, "Mama, with her off teaching all day, you'll be here in this big house all alone. She ought to be here keeping you company. A woman your age needs someone looking after her." His mother answered, "I've got hired hands to look after me. Your wife's happiness matters more to me than that. She's got her fellow teachers to keep her company, and it does her good. You're gone from sunup past dark most days anyway. What's the poor girl supposed to do cooped up here all by herself?" And that settled it. Sarah kept right on teaching, so the days went on that way. The mother sat home alone, Sarah went off to the schoolhouse, and Sam worked his long hours. Still, Sam was content just knowing his mother was at peace with the arrangement. What more could Sarah have wanted? The only son of a wealthy, respected family had taken her as his wife, and her marrying years had about run out on her. A match like that comes along once in a blue moon if you're lucky. Even her aunt and uncle's own boy was tickled about it, figuring some of that good fortune would rub off on the whole family. But it wasn't but a few weeks into the marriage before Sarah started to change. She stopped paying her husband or the household any mind at all. She'd go teach, come home wore out, and lay straight down in her room. Some evening or another, one of her teacher friends would drop by to visit. Once the friend left, she'd sit grading papers instead. She never had a spare minute for her husband or her mother-in-law. Sam let it slide at first, but when her carelessness kept piling up, he finally sat her down. "There's nothing lacking in this house," he told her. "What our driver makes taking you to school and back every day is about equal to your whole teacher's salary. What do you need that job for anyhow? Mama's getting on in years and sits here all alone. You ought to be keeping her company." Sarah shot back. "And what am I supposed to do about her being lonesome? I've lived this kind of life a long time now. I can't just up and drop it overnight." Sam said, "You haven't taken a single day off since we got married. We haven't even been anywhere together. I wanted to take you traveling out west, and you turned me down because of your students' exams. All these years I waited for the right woman, and when I saw you, I knew you were the one. Hearing about all you've been through, my heart just went out to you. I believed you were exactly who I'd been waiting for all along." But nothing he said made a dent. She was living in a world all her own. Now, a mother-in-law is a mother-in-law only so long as the daughter-in-law acts like a real daughter. Otherwise, it don't take her but a minute to turn back into just a mother-in-law. Sam's mother wasn't fond of Sarah's ways at all, but she held her tongue, wanting nothing more than to see her son's marriage last. Sarah announced she'd be spending the summer break out at her uncle's place. A month later, when her mother-in-law drove out to bring her home, Sarah treated her downright cold. The older woman drove back with tears she never let show, and she never breathed a word of it to her son. She just told him Sarah wasn't feeling well. and needed more time to rest up before coming home. A month after that, with a lot of coaxing from her aunt and uncle, Sarah finally did come back. But her attitude had gotten downright ugly. She wouldn't settle into the house, treated her husband like nothing, and disrespected her mother-in-law outright. Nobody could figure out where that sweet, good-natured Sarah had run off to. She snapped at the hired help over nothing and found every little excuse to torment the older woman. Sam started noticing it too. How his wife had gotten to thinking a whole lot more of herself than was warranted. The last time he tried talking sense into her, she just dug her heels in. "What have I even got to my name?" she said. "Everything belongs to you." "I've got nothing," Sam told her. "Everything I own is yours too. Whatever's in my name is in your name as good as. Just tell me plain what you want, and I'll see you get it." Sarah said, "I want you to sign the farmhouse and the feed business over to me." That demand knocked the wind clean out of him. "Who's been putting these ideas in your head?" he asked. "Your own family never asked for a thing when we got married," Sarah said. "One of the teachers at school told me with me being older, there's no telling if we'll ever have children. And there's no telling if my husband won't leave me flat somewhere down the road either." Hearing his own wife say a thing like that left Sam staring at her in disbelief. "Even after I'm gone, everything's still yours," he told her. "I've got no other kin left who'd try and take it from you. I'm sorry to say I read you wrong, and you sure read me wrong too." When his mother caught wind of that conversation, she tried to talk her son around. For her peace of mind, just go ahead and sign the house over to her. It's ours to give anyhow, no sense fighting over it. But Sarah rounded on her mother-in-law right then and there. "You stay out of this," she said. "I know exactly what you're up to. You want all that land and money going to your nephews someday. If we never have kids, they'd end up with everything, wouldn't they?" Both mother and son just sat there stunned, listening to her spin up some notion nobody in their right mind would have dreamed up. Sam said, "I built this business up with my own two hands, working hard for every bit of it. I'm not signing it away that easy. Not until I know for certain the person I'm handing it to is truly mine, heart and soul." Sam couldn't stomach his mother being disrespected like that under his own roof. Sarah hadn't given either of them one day of peace since the wedding, and here she was again, running her mouth like some kind of spoiled, spiteful wife. Finally, fed up, he told her, "You'd best go on back to your family for a spell. I'm not signing over 1 square inch of land until you prove yourself a decent wife first." She marched straight out to her uncle's place and cried up a storm, telling everybody Sam had thrown her clean out and she wasn't ever setting foot back in that house. Her aunt and uncle were beside themselves with worry, but Sarah wasn't the least bit troubled. She went on teaching school, calm as you please, figuring Sam and his mother would come crawling back before long, begging her forgiveness and signing that farmhouse over just to get her home. Her fellow teachers egged her on too. "Don't you dare go back," they told her. "Not till they come groveling and hand that property over. A woman's got to look out for her own future. The good Lord gives every soul at least one real shot at happiness in this life, and it's up to that person whether they take hold of it or let it slip clean through their fingers." Sarah was a fool for letting those women fill her head with nonsense, but Sam wasn't foolish in the least. He'd worked too hard for what he had. He sent his mother out to try one more time. "Tell her nothing's ruined yet," he said. "Tell her to come on home, and I'll put a fair sum in the bank in her name." But Sarah wouldn't budge an inch. Instead of showing her mother-in-law an ounce of respect, she gave her an earful and said, "Not until Sam deposits that money and comes here himself to beg my forgiveness will I set foot back in that house." His mother drove home heavy-hearted. That good woman wanted nothing more than to see her son and his wife make peace, but Sam was a settled, hard-headed man by then. He'd come to understand this woman was never going to make him a real home. She'd gotten too set in her own selfish ways. A legal separation was the only sensible road left. Sarah had figured marriage vows were about the strongest bond there was. Turned out she learned the hard way that the stronger a thing looks, the more likely it is to shatter clean in two. When those divorce papers finally landed in her hands, that's when it hit her. She saw plain as day every mistake she'd made. That was her last chance, gone for good, thrown away by her own foolishness. She grieved over it plenty afterward, but by then, the water had long since gone under the bridge, and there wasn't a thing left to be done about it.